So good afternoon, everyone. Once again, we continue our study on the book Alert by the Spirit Joanna de Angelis, dictated through the medium Divaldo Franco. And we are in lesson 53 today, and the topic is called the Serenity of Faith. I think we could actually just stay there and start talking and expanding on it. But as always, it's very important for us to pay attention to what the Spirit Joanna de Angelis is telling us, and then we meditate on her thoughts. So she starts by saying, confess your spiritist commitment through your actions, without verbal ostentation or presumptuous impetuosity. Be sympathetic to your neighbor's convictions, without, however, disguising your religious stance. Spiritism grants you a broad view of life, elucidating the difficult mechanisms of the evolution process. It makes you understand that pain of any nature is a blessing, never a punishment. Pain is the chisel through which you will perfect yourself by starting superior commitments that will lead you to peace. So let us start with especially the first two phrases that she gives us here. So she is saying, or she's trying to remind us that we have chosen to commit to the teachings of Spiritism. To commit here is, to dip even further in our studies, to try to understand the concept, the set of knowledge that is given to us, all the views that Spiritism presents to us. It doesn't mean that, you have to sign a certificate or something, or, and hang it on the wall and show to each and everyone. Here is a personal, an individual, an inner commitment. So we have elect Spiritism as being a good guideline to us, which doesn't mean here again that we have to renounce everything else or take sides. No, we are talking about basically the set of values that we receive. So one thing that we may incur in errors, and quite often actually we see that people, when they go with a certain faith, with a certain understanding, they preach too much. they want to convince us, this is the best way, and start blah blah blah, talking, like she says here, verbal ostentation, trying to say that what you have is best. Okay, we may even think that, but we understand that it is best for me. Maybe it's not best for others, according to, what they are looking out of life or immortal life. To us, it has to be the best, but to others, it's not about us going and trying to compare. So all this, the displays that we may put out in the world that represents this kind of, verbal ostentation, presumptuousness, and all of that, it can come out to others in a very wrong way. So in the second statement, she asks us to be sympathetic to others' convictions, because this is one of the things that I like so much about Spiritism, is the respect we have for everyone's faith, regardless of how we feel inside ourselves. But this is what it's very important what she complements later as well, saying, you know, in the same way that you are respecting other spiritual values, there is no need for you to also disguise your values, to hide from people. It's different, you know, to present yourself as students, followers, neophytes, whatever, of a certain line of thought, versus, you know, be preaching and trying to brainwash others. So in this sense is where we understand that Spiritism really comes and give us and open up our minds, a broader perspective of life, in terms when we understand about all the mechanisms of, you know, immortality, reincarnation, opportunities, and even in the sense understanding that pain is not something that is here to crush us. It's not a result of punishment from God or anyone else. It's actually, you know, a result of the life's experiences that we are going to be going through. When I decide to exercise, for instance, I mean, it is it's painful. Sometimes, you know, I may have the sore muscles the following day, but we keep on going, we keep on going. And then the more we continue in this path, the less it's going to hurt us, because we are taking right directions, right decisions. So once we understand that this is that, you know, this pain like she presents here is more like a chisel, you know, so it's the pain of refining us, refine our, you know, inner self, then we will see, we will look at it with a different perspective. And this is very important for us to understand. Any comments so far?
Isara,
Yes, Justice.
I don't know how we could, in our hearts, present this view to the people of Afghanistan and Haiti. I mean, this is why I'm arguing, raising the flag of justice, demanding justice for the spirit world. How can we, as you know, able to relate this to these people, to
Yes,
the
Orlando, that's that one thing. I just yesterday I heard a talk from a friend of mine, and he was talking about justice. And actually, he was a judge, and he would say, yes, there is injustice in the world, but no one suffers injustice, which means if we are going through difficult things, it means that somehow we are compromised with the things we are going through. Having said that, it doesn't mean in any circumstances that in any circumstances, and in this particular one that you are talking about, that we are going to be insensitive to the pains of others, and that we are going to cross our arms and say, oh, it's the result of their actions, be that of this incarnation or other incarnations. No, this is not what we are talking about here. We are talking about here always about charity, about caring for our brothers and sisters, about helping in any way that we can. But we have to understand that there are reasons unknown to us why we are reaping what we have sown before. So as painful as many of the circumstances in life can be, we may be absolutely 100% sure that either we ask it and really had to go through that, or we are such noble spirits that we have decided to jump even more or speed up even more our process of evolvement by dedicating ourselves to the improvement and to help others in need. So those are the two circumstances. I would say that 95% of the time we would be in the first case. Well, maybe less than 5%, it would be the sacrificial, that we call the sacrificial things. Anyone else would like to say anything? Or
I like the message about pain and seeing pain as a way to help us perfect ourselves. Like so often, like if I'm in pain, whether it's emotional, mental, physical, I think that, oh, I've done something wrong. If only I was a better person, I wouldn't have this tennis elbow, And I think it's a really great point of like pain is helps to perfect us. It's the chisel that allows us to continue to evolve. So I really like that reminder.
Yeah, and there is one thing that it's we always have to think, and I always like to stress that in terms of spiritism, okay? Although we do understand pain, okay, and the reason for pain, it doesn't mean that we embrace pain, that we are pain seekers. On the contrary, everything that we are doing here is really to prevent us pain today and tomorrow. It has nothing to do, because sometimes people come and say, oh, you're talking about pain with so much, such a natural way, and you think you have to pay for yourself. No, it has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. Even when we understand that we have sown pain and probably we are going to receive pain back, we are giving a choice, saying, yeah, there are some, very dark chapters in your immortal life history, but in order to close those chapters, you don't need to go through pain. You can go through self-sacrificing, offering love, offering, your time, your expertise, your talents, in benefit of evolvement in the world, which is a pain or perhaps a sacrifice that is fulfilling. You see the difference. In one, you're there in a negative way, and the other one, you say, oh my God, I barely sleep, I don't know, 10 hours a week, but I feel so much fulfilled because I'm doing this kind of work, working on a medicine to help, prevent pandemics, working in a refugee camp, working in a hospital, working with materials that can help people, enlighten people. I mean, countless examples that we could be giving here, right? So this is what is very important for us to do. There is a difference in understanding from where it came from, and then actually jumping into it because, oh, I can only evolve through pain. And not me. That's not my choice. Sonia, want to say something?
Yes, then in the process, in the pain, when you have pain, these lessons help us to have the ability to going through the pain and catch some lessons.
Mhm.
The process of learning something. It's like when you advise kids, don't put your finger in the flame of candle. And then one day kids touch the flame and burn the finger, and then learning, oh, this is why my mom called me not touch things. And then and I believe each lesson then we are learning here give us some support every time when you're going through the pain process, how you deal with this and transform yourself something better and good lesson for your life. Be harder and think like this, not pain you necessary to be sad about this, but to have the ability to going through this situation as a challenge for your life and learning how to deal with this and be strong after this situation.
Exactly, exactly. So the more we know about it, the more we understand, the easier things are going to be. Let's see how she continues in terms of talking about pains and all those process. It helps us remain in edifying actions, even if the results, it helps you, let me see, remains in edifying actions, even if the results are seemingly delayed. It calms you due to a better understanding of the causes of the problems that are expressed in various afflictions. She's talking about faith here, the serenity of faith, okay? And for that reason, you cannot excuse from responsibility when faced with the challenges of existence, leaving the spiritist faith. So when we have this faith and we go towards this serenity, it helps. It will help to keep us on track. You see, unfortunately, many times what happens is that we dismay quite easily because we don't see things happening in the way we think is the best way, or in the speed we think is the best way. So that's the main problem here when we are questioning things or questioning our faith, or, you know, we are always looking for the bad circumstances that are happening in life without paying attention at the good ones that are happening now. So yeah, we talk about Afghanistan, but we don't talk about the countless scientists that are working tireless to put the world on march again. We don't talk about all the volunteers that are going and traveling to Haiti to help this with the situation there. We don't talk about so many other initiatives that happen in this sense because they don't sell. We are always looking for the news that reflect the disgraces instead of looking for news that reflect the good things that are happening. And they are a lot. If that was not happening, I mean, we would not be here, right? All of us. Okay, so life is not easy. We have our so many pains, but we have the many blessings as well. So, and this is happening in the world as well. We cannot just focus on the negative. Again, it doesn't mean that we are going to be insensitive to the pains of others. And let me put this again out clear, you know, it doesn't mean that Okay, it doesn't mean that we aren't going to be affected, but we have to look at everything as a whole, and everything, as you know, actions have consequences. Okay, so those are the things we have to go with that. And when living life and understanding that in our condition of spirits that are still in the very beginning process of evolvement, it's only natural that we will still struggle with things. But the wrongest thing that we could do is, because of that, to put faith aside and listen and pay attention again, that we are not even saying you have to choose this or that faith. Okay, anyone will do, but keep faithful to that, keep on doing that, keep on going. And I mean, if you don't bring faith in your life, it's really, really bad. Yes. I cannot hear you, Orlando.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yusara, in this respect, it seems that Buddhism give us, how should we say, understands the meaning of suffering and pain, and it comforts more, although it might not be the reality that Spiritism offers, but it helps, the compassion. It offers compassion. Yes.
Well, we are not that much afar. I read about Buddhism. It has been quite a while, so I don't have everything fresh in my mind. But one thing that I know, basically, and if anyone else knows, that as well or different, please say it, is it goes in the same direction, because it says that what provokes pain in us is actually how much we focus on materiality, right? It's the desire. So the desire is, and meaning desire here on focusing our lives more towards the materiality, is the focus of our pain and losing our inner peace. There is a mic that is open. Okay. And our inner peace. So we are talking about the same thing, maybe with different words, but we are talking about the same thing, because ultimately Spiritism is telling us the same. Listen, you live on the material life, you have to take care of your material things, but remember, this is not it, and it's far from being all. Right? So do your duties, focus on what you have committed yourself to be doing here, but remember that there is much more than that. Don't give extra importance to things that very, very, very fast we are going to have to leave behind. And so the cause of suffering is the excess of attachment to things, and this is what Buddhism talks about as well. Anyone else would like to say something or contribute?
Yes, then about this word serenity, because it's not easy for all to have serenity when you're going through some difficult problem, challenge. Then it's not easy, because we are going to opposite way. We are stressed. We always believe we need to do something to solve that situation. And this word means so much for me, because serenity, it's my daily challenger. because it's so difficult for me.
I think it's difficult for all of us, Sonia. I mean, to say that we are in this state of bliss, right? Because serenity brings you a state of bliss. We're not there yet, but we are working to get there. And the more we approach that, we will be feeling it. At least now we know that it can be attained, and that there are things that we can do to help in this process. And this is what I mean, we are going step by step, and this is the case. We love shortcuts, but they don't work because they are not even sustainable, right? I mean, we have to be very true to our condition. To go at a pace, we will know that we can really do that. I mean, we commit first to smaller goals. Okay, so this is the path to serenity. There are 20 stages. Okay, my goal is to go through the first one. Normally what we do is, no, I wanted to get there. We want to jump. Like, a board game, I just want to go jump, stop, right at the winning line, right? The finish line. Yeah, so, and this is the problem. And we do not celebrate when we move up to the second stage and say, yeah, I did it. Okay, there is still 19 to go. But I went through the first one. And so this is what we are missing, this vision, this optimism, this being realistic, rational, like, Kardec says, spiritism is a set of knowledge, a doctrine of reason. So I cannot try to do more than I am capable of. And when we are doing that, in this path, we will say, okay, there are still a long way to go, but I passed the first stage. And in this case of serenity, is the same thing, right? Yeah, we're not there yet. But only knowing that this is our goal and trying to do something, it's already something to celebrate. So let's see more here. There are people who, under the pretext of fraternity, adhere to the most diverse philosophical concepts without siding with any behavior. They claim to be neutral. This is the part where Joanna de Angelis is going to say, in terms of faith, and many people actually look for something in terms of spirituality. But some of them, they will say, oh, this is so beautiful. Oh my God. In relation to Buddhism, Judaism, Spiritism, and other isms, okay? They'll say, oh, it's so beautiful. But it's still, I'm okay where I am. So Buddhism invites you to more meditation, and then you will, oh, okay, it's not yet for me. Spiritism invites you to more, self-awareness. Oh, okay. So we say it's beautiful, but it's there, like, something to be admired and not necessarily internalized. Then she says there are creatures who, in the name of religious tolerance, adopt a series of revelations through the ages, but do not integrate themselves into any active movement. they declare to be universalist. Oh no, I don't want to choose, you know. For a certain time I went to Seishonoye, for a certain time I went to the Catholic Church, I traveled as well to Protestantism. Oh yeah, I know Spiritism, and you know, that's the story, or Buddhism, or Islamism, or whatever they choose. I like to study the different thoughts, the spiritual thoughts, but they don't do anything. They don't use even all the knowledge that you can receive from so many different kinds of faith. We don't put anything in they don't put anything in their lives. No, I'm still researching, you know. and life goes on, and life passes by us very quickly, and you're gonna go there talking to St. Peter and say, oh, you know, I spent my life researching. You lost your opportunities, right? And there are companions who emerge expressing caution and prudence, agreeing with numerous spiritualist arguments. However, imagining they are coherent with the circumstances in which they find themselves, they never produce anything good. They claim that they are observers not yet defined. So those are also there are the other ones were the universalists. They embrace everything but don't do nothing. And those are the ones that say, oh, this is very wonderful, this is very beautiful. But I'm still have to see where I fit in all of this. Of course, this all that she's putting up to us here means you have not brought any kind of spirituality to your life. And if you don't have this kind of spirituality, it's very difficult for you to, you know, to attain the kind of serenity that having a faith can give to us. For us here who have been gone through so much, I'm sure all of you went through so much already, if not directly through a loving one, a family member, something like that. And not to mention everything that the world is living, we know how much having a faith and an understanding can help us deal with cope and all of that. So those are people that are preventing them to find the same kind of peace. Yes. You have to unmute, Orlando. We cannot hear you, Orlando. But don't worry, we will remind you, okay? It's better when the mics are muted, because sometimes there are sounds around. And yes, Marlene, yes.
Every day I make it a practice to spend a certain amount of time in meditation and contemplation. And I really find that it gives me a lot of serenity and peace. And I recommend it as a daily practice, really.
That's wonderful, Marlene. This is really something that it's really recommended. Be it true, because sometimes people have a bit of difficulty in terms of, you know, just bringing peace to their minds, or concentrating, or even getting into the meditation per se. But if you reserve a few minutes of your day to, you know, to enjoy a music that can bring you peace, or sitting down to read read a page that can bring you enlightenment, or collecting yourselves to say a prayer, to talk to God in a way. Those are very, very recommended, advisable things for us to do. Whatever works better for you. I have to confess for myself, to sit trying to eliminate thoughts from my mind for 15 minutes, it's absolutely impossible. But those other things I can do. I can, get into the music, I can get into the prayers, I can get into the reading that are going to take me to a different level of energy. So this is very, very good. Okay. Yes, we cannot hear you at Orlando.
You can
Yes.
hear me now? Yes. You said that for a long time I've been wanting to hear from Marilyn, and when she was speaking, my phone was ringing. Could you take a half a minute and so I could hear what she has to say, what she said?
Do you want to say it again, Marlene? Or
I was saying that every day I spend a bit of time meditating and contemplating. And if you do this every day, it doesn't have to be a long period of time. It's whatever you can handle. It will definitely bring you some peace and serenity. Won't last all day, but it'll be there for a bit, and you'll love it.
Thank you.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Joanna de Angelis continues saying, every stance of faith is certainly respectable. So this is what we were talking about here. We are not here to criticize. We understand completely that even because of reincarnation, because of the different stages and levels of evolvement that we are, certain things are going to fit better for us. It's like a shoe. Right? As much as I could fit on a size 5 shoes, I'm a size 8. It's not going to fit, right? So, and it doesn't mean that because you are a size 5, 6, or 7 and not an 8, you're worse than I am. It's really finding that which is going to inspire you to develop this kind of faith, spirituality in your life. And regardless of the way you choose, if that is what fits better for you, please just do it. Okay, so here we are spiritists. We talk about the spiritist literature, and we are having this conversation with birds of a feather. We are all, in the same line, or at least for the moment, we are all in the same line. And this is what is important. And this is how we have to position ourselves. That's why when she said, when you speak about your faith, that you should not necessarily hide, just don't speak with in a pretentious way, in a verbal ostentation. It's more about doing than saying, right? So you, however, have already found the roadmap and the compass, knowing where the port is and how to prepare to disembark from the carnal vehicle. Tolerate, but do not be complacent. Understand, but don't agree. Encourage all, however, do not leave the path that the Spiritist doctrine has traced for those who know it. What is she talking about here? Although we have to give all our respect to other lines of thinking, to other religions, to other kinds of philosophy, not necessarily we are going to agree with that. We do not agree with what is happening in a spiritual line of thinking that is happening in Afghanistan, for instance, saying, in the way that it diminishes the rights of women. But it's their right to think the way they want to think. But I'm not obliged, although respecting and trying to understand, I'm not obliged to agree. I'm not obliged to embrace other concepts. And the same thing in terms of other religions, okay, other forms of manifesting themselves, okay. There are certain religions that they will recommend you perhaps to light candles. I mean, if you feel that this is the way you communicate better with the spirits, what is the problem in that? But you know already for yourself that this is, you don't need that to communicate with the spirit. If there are people that think, oh, I can only talk to God if I go to my, temple of faith, we know that God is all around. I don't need to go to necessarily to a certain address, to a temple of faith to talk to God. But I respect people that will do that. But it doesn't mean that I have to bring that to my life, right? So, and other things, other examples that we could have, and we don't want it to go there because the idea here is not to bring, points of discordance, but it's always to bring points where we all want the same thing. And we all, in a way, are looking for ways to connect with God. There are people that will think that if I whip myself every day 10 times, God is going to be pleased with me because I'm mortifying my body. Okay, if they think like that, if it helps them in their process for the moment, but I'm not going to be doing that, right? With the knowledge and understanding that I have from the faith now I have selected, to be a guideline in this existence for me. This is what she's talking about here. Respect, but do not necessarily agree. Do not necessarily be complacent with all the ideas, because what she says here in the last paragraph is you already know enough. You already know enough to choose. So when she continues, when slandered by the freedman and taken to the Sanhedrin to answer the accusations that were made against him, Stephen remained serene and faithful to such a degree that all who were sitting looked intently at him, and they saw that his face was like the face of an angel, in according to the writings in Acts 6:15. So, and perhaps we could say the same things when they try to describe about the martyrs on the circus, right? That they would march to their sacrifice, singing and praying in serenity. Thank God we no longer need to go to this kind of, demonstrations of faith. But the demonstrations of faith that we go through in our day-to-day lives are hard enough. Maybe they don't hurt us. It's not like the bite of a lion, but we feel sometimes, the hurt, the difficulties that come from the situations of life as well. And again, here, what Joanna de Angelis is saying is when we have this kind of understanding and when we use faith in our favor, really embracing the guidelines we receive from it, it is a sure path to achieve serenity. Okay.
Gisara,
Yes.
it seems to me like when we refer to us uh, as like humans, uh, I see it completely different. I see it that we are incarnated spirits, and therefore uh, the spirit world has a responsibility for its action incarnating us in a physical body. So we relate to the physical body, and we forget that we are incarnated spirits, and somebody has to be responsible for the way we are, for not taking care of us, of evil. And, some people would say, the creator, but it's the spirit world. And it keeps reincarnating spirits that are evil just because they haven't learned their lesson. And we suffer as humans. I don't like to use the word humans, but we suffer as incarnated spirits.
Orlando, we are not that good as well. And not long ago, we were evil as these people that we call evil. And at this moment, having this clarity, this understanding, at least we should be very grateful to God that didn't forsake us and gave us opportunities to learn and to become different. So we cannot prevent that to happen. Is the law of evolvement, the law of progress that exists in the universe, and there are always going to be teachers and students. In this case, meaning teachers, people that are ahead, that know more, not necessarily here, because using this example, we can always think about more of an intellectual nature, but in terms of, the achievements, the spiritual achievements they have that reflect on their actions, is not just about intellect. So there are always going to be teachers and students, and thank God, this is the way it happens. And finally, if we can kind of classify ourselves as teachers or already being interns of teachers, right? We are in a better situation. But it doesn't mean that we have to look to those that are in the rear guard and say how horrible they are, because not long ago we were there. And in the eyes of others, they are much more advanced than we are. They could have been thinking the same thing about us. How come these people of Earth still are doing what they're doing? You see, and so, okay, they challenge us, our patience, our tolerance, our level of compassion. All the time they are challenging us, right? When we have to face adversity. But this is what helps us as well, moving ahead. And even on the back of our minds, although perhaps not even consciously declaring that to ourselves, we know that the aversion we may have for people who still act in this way is the aversion we had for our own selves when we were in their position. We were the ones doing those horrible, horrible actions. And so it pains me now because it brings back to the memory of the spirit things that I do not want even to go there or to consider. So it's so much more complex than just, this analysis. But it's always like that. Thank God Jesus decided to come here and rescue the barbarians that we were. Can you imagine if he said, oh no, these people, not for me. I can't cope with them. I mean, this is the sign of a sign of inferiority on our part. No one is saying that is easy. No one is saying that when we have, the task of becoming models on our own levels are not going to require a lot of things from us. But this is the way it is. And thank God there are so many more, like I said, in a better situation than we are. They are doing their job as well to bring us to their level. And this is how the wheel turns, right?
Yusara, I want to thank you for your open mind and for not giving up on me.
Oh, never. You see, I just said that, right? We cannot give up on anything. I'm sure there are many spirits and people ahead of me that are also not giving up on me, So we can do it. We can do it together. Okay, any more comments before we finish?
Yes, I'm just finishing up my favorite book of the moment, The Big Enigma.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And I wish you would sort of clarify a bit about the perispirit. I get it, but I don't quite get it.
About the perispirit?
Yes.
Can I ask you perhaps to be a bit more longer patient? Because in 7 weeks, we are going to finish this book. And at least for a month, while we decide which book to go, we could bring topics such as this. And the first one could be perispirit, because I can give you an answer, very quick answer right now, but I could give you more if we had 40 minutes to talk about it. But basically is, very roughly, is the replica of our physical body that allows us to live in a different atmosphere. Let's say that I wanted to visit the bottom of the ocean. I would need to have a certain apparatus, okay, to allow me to be there and to survive there, right? So it's roughly that, it's a garment of the spirit that allows me to transit in a different atmosphere, dimension, whatever the name we want to give to that. So it is still a physical body, but with a physicality that is much more ethereal than the physicality that we have when living here on Earth. So it's basically that. But let's do that as next week. We are already in lesson 54. We have 60 lessons, and after that we can have for the first study group perispirit. And if you want to bring any other suggestions, please feel free. And at least, let's say, for 4 weeks we stay perhaps revisiting some concepts, and then we go for a different book. Okay,
Great. Thank you.
thank you. Yes. Okay, do we have a volunteer for the final prayer?